just picked it up and tossed it on there, and and she was there, and I was like, it's still like smoldering. She was like, yeah, it's gonna be hot for a while. And I was like, okay. And I turned around and looked up, and Scott was standing at the top of the hill, like where the driveway is, with both arms on his hips, just staring down at us. And at the time, I was just like, mental image, I guess. And I was just like, okay. So I walked the edge of the property because
there's a pretty steep hill there. Did you go all the way down that steep hill?
I didn't think it was steep, but I went down there. I mean, I probably had sandals on, but I walked all the way down. I mean, in my mind, I'm thinking something happened to my dad. He's been out here working on the property, may have fallen out. Let's go look for him. So I'm searching everywhere, and I go walk that property line, and I go over the dam that's by the left of the pond if you're standing on that side. And I walked up to the barn, probably walked either through the barn or around the barn. I don't really remember.
Now, I ask you this. Do you ever remember around this time Scott saying anything about the placement of the tractor? Did he bring that up? Did you hear that?
No.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Where you walked?
Walked up there. I was calling out his name, trying to find him. I was getting desperate at this point and hoping I would find him. And I just had this gut feeling that something was wrong. And I had turned and walked down the driveway, and I was standing right as the driveway dips, and Scott calls me.
On your phone?
On my phone. And I'm looking over the pond and kind of just standing there at the fence, and he goes, Amanda, like something to the tune of like, Daddy's in this burn pile. Like, I know what I've seen. I've been in Iraq. I know what burned bodies looked like. And I'm just sitting there on the phone going, what are you talking about? And he was like, there's something in this burn pile. And I was like, what are you talking about? And pure just denial, I guess. And either he hung up the phone or I hung up, but I immediately called Chad and I said, you need to get here right now. This is what Scott is saying, and you need to come get Cameron. You have to come get your daughter. And next thing I know, I don't know if he walked over. I mean, everything, your whole world stops. And he came over and grabbed me by the arm as hard as he could, and he got in my face.
Who are we talking about?
Scott.
Okay.
He got in my face and he screamed at me. He said, I know what I saw. I know what it is, Amanda. And I was just, again, going like, what? And next thing I know, he said he called the 911, paramedics, whatever. And I walk up to the driveway. There's like a fork in the road.
I have to ask you this question and I'll move on from this topic quickly. But you walked down to the burn pile earlier. And you and your mom looked at it together. Briefly. And neither one of you saw what you would believe to have been human remains.
Thank God, no.
But you say Scott was up behind you on the hill just staring at you both.
Yes.
Okay. So going back to when the paramedics arrived, what happened next?
I was standing in the driveway and my mom had walked up. And I was like, what is going on? She said, I don't know. She just kept saying, I don't know. And I was just in shock at this point. And next thing I know, fire trucks, paramedics, and all of this. And she just said, why is he holding them up at the end of the driveway? And I said, I don't know. I have no idea. And it felt like an eternity. And I refused to go over there. I didn't want to go over there. And this poor paramedic, I'll never forget him. He was standing there with a gurney and he goes, I'm so sorry for your loss. And that was the first time anybody ever told me about my dad being dead. And I said, so you're telling me that my dad is in that burn pile back there? And he just looked at me in shock. It was just like, he couldn't say anything back. And Chris was sitting on the bed of his truck, just looking down at the ground. He didn't say anything.
He didn't say anything?
No.
And what was your brother Scott doing
I don't know. I guess they were over there, him and my mom. I don't know.
Did your brother, and I think I'm going to ask the judge after this question to go ahead and break here, because then we're going to go ahead and start talking about what happened after this day. But did your brother say anything else concerning at that time? And he'd mentioned a gun. Did he say anything else that resonates in your memory?
Which one, Chris or Scott?
Either one.
No, Chris, no.
What about Scott?
I don't think I talked to Scott much after that. I think he was off. I don't really recall. I really felt like every bone in my body was broken at that point. I remember talking to Hayes for a little bit and standing at the fence. And he could have told me I had purple hair and 5 eyes, and I wouldn't have recalled. And I just kept going through my head of just like, if he's gone, he's like, our life has changed forever. And it was awful. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
I'm going to show you what has been previously marked as, I believe, bot song 4. Is this you?
Yes.
Were you aware there was a trail camera on the property?
No, not really.
Okay. And is this your mother?
Yes.
Okay. And that's bot song 5. And who is this?
Scott.
Is that also Scott?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a question, and then I think we should probably go ahead and break before we move on to the next phase. Would it shock you to know that Scott Farris deleted, that's a picture of him backing away from the phone, from the trail cam after deleting the trail cam at that very moment as y'all are searching for your daddy?
Yes. It would shock me. We were looking for my dad. Why? I don't, like, again, I didn't know that he had a trail camera, but that is concerning.
Judge, I think we should break.
It's here. So we'll break for lunch. We're going to take an hour. So we'll start back up at 1 o'clock.